Yes. Father of economics is nothing but Adam Smith. He's a great man. You know, yes. The man who popularized this concept of division of implementing division of labor at the in an industry can lead to increase of productivity. So, Adam Smith, actually, you can read his book on the causes of wealth of uh, nations, causes for exactly. I don't recall the exact title, but Adam Smith's first book, which he published in 1776. So this is a very good book. So anyway, then this concept of interchangeability invented by Haley Whitney. Uh, in fact, like there is a very beautiful Haley Whitney Museum in New Haven in Connecticut in the US, where they teach about this interchangeability. They conduct workshops. That is also again say one beautiful thing about Americans, USA is they have beautiful interactive museums where you can interact with the inventions that these forerunners have invented. Right? So this anyway, I told you about the story of Eli Whitney, how he got frustrated out of his invention of cotton ginning machine, and ultimately it led him to accept the contract of U.S. Congress to manufacture those 10,000 muskets, right? So then we have the standardization. Charles Babbage, right? Uh, so Charles Babbage is another great person. He is credited with inventing the mechanical computer. So he ended up inventing two kinds of machines called difference engine and analytical engine, uh, which were supposed to have good at generating actuarial tables. Actuarial tables means the kind of tables that you see when an LIC agent visits your place. Okay, like how much you have to get an insurance for 10 lakhs after 10 years. What should be the premium you have to pay per month or per year? All that calculations are based on certain interest rates and those factors. So those tables are called as actuarial tables, and Charles Babbage ended up inventing a machine to print those accurately. But actually, what happened is that even though he designed those difference engine and analytical engine, he couldn't fabricate them during his lifetime because he was looking for uh, precision in the kind of gears, levers, cams that he need them for making those difference engine and analytical engine. So, in fact, it was Charles Babbage idea that unless you standardize the components that go into any machine, you cannot increase the productivity of an industry. He said standardization is the basis. Why he ended up doing this is in order to produce his defense engine and analytical engine, he was touring the entire UK to find out who are the best machinists who can produce the gears and cams and levers to the precision he was expecting. And finally, what happened is he didn't fabricated those two engines, but he learned the nuances of manufacturing. And so he only said, like, see, for example, washer or standardization of threads, standardization of bolts, nuts, washers. So it was his idea that you standardize you introduce standardization at the component level. So now any mature industry, what happens is after a bit of maturity, they go for standardization, some kind of ISI, like you said, Indian Standards Institute, at the worldwide you have. So now you have, just like for quality also, you have ISO 9000, ISO 14000. The concept of standardization was introduced by Charles Babbage. But if you want to implement a standardization, you have to first of all understand interchangeability. Yes, yes, yes.
So interchangeability and standardization aren't the same.
No, yeah, interchangeability is a concept. That means you can substitute one component with the other component as long as it has the uh, standard dimension with the requisite amount of tolerance.
Sir, can't we say
Right?
in Eli Whitney's case that he have standardized the measurements of each part and he made it
That is
interchangeable?
okay. That is okay. Uh, See, but across industry, people should agree. Na? See, you might have made the, like, for example, I will give you a recent example. Like if you take Apple and a normal PC, desktop PC and Apple PC. See, you can't interchangeably use parts between Apple computer and a PC because they follow their own standards. There is no standardization at the laptop or desktop computers. Like Apple follows its own standardization. It doesn't like it says like we are different. Whereas HP, like a Lenovo or Dell, they use almost the same standardized format components. Even they use the same operating system, like Windows. That means standardization means when what he means by standardization means the entire industry should come to an understanding that here afterwards we will follow M16 nut or bolt for a particular purpose, or an M16 an M16 bolt should have this kind of dimension with the threads like this. Are you getting the point?
Yes,
Hmm?
sir.
So standardization and interchangeability is different in the sense, but for to bring standardization, interchangeability is a necessary condition. Okay. So actually, what happened is Charles Babbage, finally, during his lifetime, he couldn't bring some kind of standardization across all the manufacturers. After that, after that, industry associations started picking up. Like for example, for mechanical engineering, ASME started introducing standardization in mechanical arts, right? Like we have ASTM standards, American Society for Testing and Materials, ASTM. So the standardization is very important, like it increases the productivity of the entire industry. It may be like, for example, initially internet or computer networks, they used to follow different kind of protocols, novel network, TCP/IP. But now they said like everyone should use TCP/IP protocol for internet access. They have to follow that V6 format, 128-bit internet address with 48-bit MAC address. You know, that has brought in, when standardization was introduced at the world as a worldwide one. Now everybody is able to talk to each other, irrespective of whether you are in India or Afghanistan or US. So Taliban cannot say that no, we will follow different standards for accessing internet. No, so are you not able to hear my voice?
Yes, sir.
Audible.
We can hear. Maybe he
Uh-huh.
may have internet issue.
Okay. So anyway, so standardization means bringing some kind of agreement across various manufacturers in a particular industry, whether it is computers or automobiles or washing machines. So if they agree to certain standards, then as a whole, the industry can increase its productivity, so that there is no islands of activity. Just like, see, for example, Apple has isolated from itself with regard to their hardware. They are not compatible with hardware of, say, because they are totally following their own OS operating system. They make their own proprietary chips. But whereas the other manufacturer like HP, Dell, Lenovo, what they use the Intel processor, and they use the same Windows products. So in a way, like, that's why HP, HP, they are a bit slightly less cost than Apple, because Apple has a very small captive market to exploit. Like, they account for only 10% of the desktop computers or laptops. Okay. So anyway, so this standardization, he said, like, will bring in lot of increased productivity in the industry. So these three things, division of labor, concept of interchangeability, and standardization, has laid the solid foundation for mechanical engineering, right? And that led to increased productivity. So this is one of the three contributors, even though they are concepts wise, but this concept, when practiced, it led to increased productivity in the industry. So similarly, like, another slogan people were using was this particular slogan: divide the work, multiply the output. So this is, again, in a different way, you are saying implement division of labor. Okay. So this division of labor is nothing but implementing division labor for an assembled product. Now coming, like, here, there is I said, convergence of ideas. What is that convergence of ideas? That is, I said, na, industrial revolution era is characterized by, so one of the characterization of this particular era is the concept of cult of individualism. Cult of individualism. That means people are more self-centered. They said, like, let me contribute something to the society. Let me benefit out of my own efforts. And they de-linked their efforts to godly interference. Like, so for example, here, who contributed to that idea, cult of individualism? Who were the people behind it? One is, like, as Adam Smith said, use of human selfishness for greater good by Adam Smith. And then Charles Darwin, he is another great person. Like he is better known for what do you call? What he is known for? Charles Darwin?
Evolution of species.
Uh, Evolutionary theory, right? So, theory, survival of the fittest through natural selection. All right. So, uh, Charles Darwin, uh, he said like for any living thing will try to maximize its gain, sometimes at the cost of others. Like it will try to increase its brood, right? So, and it is basic characteristics of the any living thing. That is what he said. This Charles Darwin. So, survival of the fittest is a slogan. So, and then we have this Martin Luther King who questioned the what do you call the power of the Pope. He said like he was in total disagreement with the Pope. He said like whatever you are saying is you are biasing towards feudals and kings, but actually the he gave a new interpretation to the Bible, saying that it is meant for God is equal to everyone. So it is not that like God favors more the feudals and the kings. So this Martin Luther King, what he did is he said like he for the first time he said like he came with the slogan "Work is worship." Work is worship. Like and he also said like God is only responsible for your birth. The rest of the thing you can write your own history. There is nothing into it. So Martin Luther King introduced a lot of church reforms, and he started a new sect called Protestants. Because Protestants means these guys who protested against the Catholic Church. So, and see here, this Martin Luther is different from that Martin Luther King. So this Martin Luther King belongs to 18th and 19th century, whereas the Martin Luther King you are referring is from in 1960s who tried to liberate the American blacks from slavery. Okay, then we have the Limited Liability Act of 1862. This is another greatest. Yes. Uh, this Limited Liability Act 1862 is another greatest innovation of mankind. Every management should be aware of this particular act. Why? Because in the this is the first uh, in art like this is the Limited Liability Act means what is the beauty of this act is like it has declared a company as an individual, and that means it has the equal rights of a real individual like any human being. Like he can a company has the right to purchase property, do business, right? So this Limited Liability Act has made people to be more adventurous when setting up a company. Like for example, you take a Limited Liability Act where so they have enacted a like in UK they have enacted a law where it declared it declared that a company can be it can be an individual. It has the right to possess private property, and it has the every right of a normal individual. Like for example, like From this liability from this act only, the concept of stock exchanges have evolved. The concept of shares. Say, for example, if you take a company like, say, Reliance Industries. See, Reliance Industries, it is a public limited company. That means, the Reliance Industries is an individual, and even the Mukesh Ambani also invested in that particular company. So, and here, in any public limited company, the owner is not permanent, and ownership is decided by the whoever owns maximum number of shares of that particular company. So, in fact, like suppose tomorrow, let us say uh, if the company loses or comes into losses, nobody will try to come and confiscate Mukesh Ambani's property. His until our property is safe still. Why? Because of this limited liability issue. That means, say for example, if I have purchased a ICICI Bank shares, I'm buying, but my liability with respect to or ICICI Bank, if say suppose I have purchased 10 lakh shares of ICICI. Suppose tomorrow ICICI goes into losses, the bankers will not come to me because I'm also an investor. They say like you have also invested, you also pay your settle the dues of ICICI Bank, because my liability or companies, when I invest in that ICICI Bank, it is a limited liability. So if the shares price goes up, maybe I will sell it to somebody for a profit. But if the company is losing, see, I'm not responsible for it because you are also because company is an individual, you are also investing, you have also given that money to that company. So you are also investor, you are not the owner. Whereas if it is a private company, then bankers will come to you. But this is, whereas a limited liability company means people can invest because that company is now an individual on which you are investing something. So just like bankers, you have also invested in that. But in bankers' case, they are giving loan, and when they are giving loan to a company, they have to be a bit careful because once they lose money there is no, it will turn into bad debts of that particular bank. All right. Whereas equity investor, his liability to that particular company is limited to only shares, and because he is also investor. So with this limited liability act, what happened is people started building up large, big industries. Why they go for big industries is, we have that economics principle, that is economies of scale. That means the more you produce, the less the cost of production, because you can spread the fixed cost across many number of units. So that's why one of the reasons why Henry Ford could reduce the price of the car from $960 to $280 over a period of time is because whatever investment you are putting on a company, if you are with the same investment, if you are able to produce more number of goods, that means your capital cost per unit, it starts coming down parabolically. So that is the reason. So the bigger the industry, the bigger the economies of scale, and thereby you can reduce the cost of production. So it is a kind of positive spiral. So since you reduce the price of the product, more people are eligible for buying your product. So because more people are buying, you increase the production capacity, and because of increased production capacity, again you get economies of scale. So there is a further reduction in the cost of production. So it is a positive spiral. As more and more people buy, the production costs tend to become lower and lower, particularly in a in a situation like even why cell phones are coming down, why the cost of cell phones are coming down is because of the same reason. You produce them in millions, or you take the even the Intel. If you take Intel company, because it produces in millions, the Intel processor, that is like i5 processor or i7 processor. So even though they might have invested say $2 to $3 billion to set up their manufacturing plant, but when it comes to selling each i7 processor, because they produce in millions, the cost of chip they are producing is not more than say 120 or $200. That's all. They are able to give an individual customer at $200. It is because they produce that particular Intel processor in millions and almost say 100 million processors or 200 million processors. So that's why, in fact, Intel, it says to be successful, they say like you follow our mantra, Intel mantra. What is that Intel mantra? What they say, first step for successfully starting a enterprise is what I can say. First step is innovate, and second step is you mass produce that particular product. Because once you do mass production, it becomes affordable to everyone, for everyone to buy your product. Third step is, anyway you are making profit, so don't eat away that profit. So what you do is you plow back that profit to do further innovation. All right. And what is the fourth step? People were asking Intel, what is the fourth step of success? You said like repeat the above three steps with enthusiasm. So the steps is innovate, mass produce, go back the profits to further innovate, and again mass produce. If the cycle goes on, what he says is fourth step is you repeat the what do you call above three steps with enthusiasm. Don't keep on cursing the public or cursing your competitors, but instead you enjoy the whole process. So actually, partly somebody has prompted. Actually, Intel is led by its founder's law, that is Moore's law of computing. So what Moore's law said is, what Gordon Moore said is, see, unless like he said like the technology in chip VLSI chip design, it is growing exponentially, and he defined that exponential law. What he said is the number of transistors that you can accommodate in a given area doubles every 18 months, and the cost of computation goes by half. So guided by that Moore's law, Intel, whether their competitors have come with a better processor or not, they don't bother about that. But they definitely come with a new processor with better computational speed and less cost within 18 months. Till now, Intel has not violated its founder's law. They were keep on producing new and new processors. So they were in fact cannibalizing their own product. Whether that product is successful or a failure, still they keep on producing. So the innovation in terms of technology upgradation, there is no one to beat Intel. That's why. Yeah, but see, but that they have circumvented that what do you call that bound by going for parallel processing. Like for example, like a quad processor. That means there will be 4 CPUs within the same CPU. So multitasking for. So they are doing some kind of innovation even there too, because they have reached the ultimate where quantum effects are coming into play. But now, so still they innovate, even though there is a limitation, but still they are following their founder's law, and they are definitely coming with a new processor with better capabilities and at an affordable price. Right? So this is so that's why companies at the component level, like if you take hard disk or monitors, whatever, unless you produce them in mass production, cost of can't bring down the cost to a level where even a common man can afford to buy. See, that is the beauty of Henry Ford's innovation. He has brought down the cost of the car to such a level, even his workers are able to buy that car, what they are manufacturing. And every average farmer in US also could buy that car, because he has brought down the cost of production from $960 to $280 using his mass production principles or moving assembly line principle. Right? So here now another important event of this industrial revolution is like Taylor's scientific management. So this Taylor's scientific management, this is you can say this man is also a very genius kind of person, F.W. Taylor. So in fact, you can say that he is our father figure for scientific management, or you can say industrial engineering, to be precise. Uh, so he is father of industrial engineering because he he is the first man to scientifically analyze the work of a worker. Like for example, he ventured into finding out what is the per day's work of a worker. Right? So this is anyway, we will talk about this man's contribution after discussing these time periods. So Taylor scientific, and remember this in the same period, Bessemer has invented a cheap way to produce steel, and our Michael Faraday, he ended up inventing what is called electric motor and generator. No, this actually in industrial revolution period, that is it is particularly 18th and 19th century, particularly 19th century, there is so much innovation. So much innovation. Somebody has said that innovation is equivalent to like building 1,000 pyramids. See, Pyramid of Giza in Egypt is a massive construction. They did it around 3000 BC time, and they did it in such a perfect way that the life of each pyramid they have calculated as 60,000 years before it completely collapses. So whereas no structure can be as robust as a pyramid. So if you see the amount of innovation that happened in industrial revolution era, it is equivalent to some buildings, 1,000 pyramids, because there is this particular era has brought in a lot of synergy between various concepts and technology, right? Concepts like division of labor, interchangeability, standardization, divide, and then this limited liability act, and then invention of polymer steel, like invention of electric motor. You know, this invention of electric motor has did, did wonders to the mechanical engineering, because now it has brought in a lot of portability to power, use of power. Like if you lay certain electric lines, you can bring the motive power to any place you want. Initially, we started with like we have to set up your wheat flour mill only by the side of a river. But with the invention of coal, you are able to set up that prime mover anywhere you want, as long as you can transport coal to that place. Now with the electric system, electricity, you are able to bring in to your house itself, right? Anything like for household purposes, you need ceiling fan and then washing machines, you know. So electricity is one of the greatest inventions during this period, but we are not discussing about that. So because we belong to mechanical engineering, like we see from the mechanical engineering perspective, and then now coming to the um, this modern period of mass production, that is 20th century. So this modern period of mass production was single-handedly, you can say, the driving force is Henry Ford's mass production system. So what is the beauty of this mass production system? I have already told you, like he has cut down all the kind of inefficiency that can happen in a assembly of a car. He has he eliminated inefficiency to the extent of like he reduced the assembly time of a car from 12 hours to just 90 minutes. So this Henry Ford, so actually Henry Ford established his company in 1903, and initially, and in fact, like by 1907, he has fine-tuned his mass production line, and he was selling each car at $960. And by 1917, the same car he was selling at $280, even after adjustment for inflation. So Henry Ford. So somebody has asked him, Henry Ford, like how you ended up inventing this moving assembly line concept, with which he could uh, go for mass production systems. Because once you go for mass production systems, automatically the cost of production comes down. So here he said, like see, this moving assembly line is not my idea. It seems he got that idea when he visited a local butchering plant in Detroit. So what he found there in semi-automatic butchering plant is, see, Americans they eat a lot of beef. So in order to reduce the cost of beef making, what they did is they come up with a innovation like a conveyor belt. Say, for example, there is a moving conveyor belt. So a cow starts at this place. A fellow will at this place he will cut the head. Then another worker, he's like a division of labor they were applying in the processing of beef. One fellow cuts only the heads of the cows. Another fellow will remove the skin. Another fellow he will separate the legs. So like this. So at the end, you get only skeleton of the cow, right? So this is a disassembly process. What Henry Ford said is, I reversed this idea. So in Henry Ford's moving assembly line on the conveyor belt, it starts with a rough chassis of the car. You have one worker sitting at the first, he might be mounting a tire. The other fellow will, the next worker on the line, he will mount with the bolts and nuts. The next fellow, so all those 204 nuts that goes into T model are done in 90 minutes. With each worker taking not more than, say, around 30 seconds. So if one worker mounts tires, he will not tighten the nuts. That is the responsibility of the next one. So what Henry Ford did is he he has driven the concept of division of labor to an extreme level of where each worker sitting on the assembly line, he will not contribute more than 30 seconds of worth of work in the making of the car. So in fact, like Henry Ford was pulling out one car for every 30 seconds from his assembly line. When finally in 1917, after a lot of iterations in the improvement of the moving assembly line, he was generating also one car is coming out of every 30 seconds. That's how like he could reduce the price of the car. So what he said is, I just reversed the automatic butchering plant idea. Whereas that is an assembly process, this is an assembly process. So this is how like Henry Ford, like what happened later in America, he started copying this particular concept of moving assembly line to manufacture every other consumer goods. It may be assembling a TV or a radio or washing machine, refrigerators, ceiling fans. So that's why Henry Ford system of production, that system that he invented for mass production, that is moving assembly line, led to leaps and bounds of productivity in American industry. That's why America, one of the reasons why America has become the richest nation in the world, why it is a #1 country in terms of GDP. Like it has the highest GDP, right? And even though China or India has, say, 150 crore and 130 crore people, still we are not able to reach the GDP of Americans, because their per capita GDP is very, very high when compared with India or China. Like per capita GDP of Americans is around $50,000 or $55,000 per year, whereas China has around 16 or $15,000, whereas India has only $2,500 or $3,000 at the maximum. So we are so that's why when it comes to gross domestic product, India's gross domestic product is, is sixth in all over the world, whereas America is the first and second one is China. So in between you have Germany and other people who are maybe ahead of India. So so here part of the reason why American as a nation has become rich nation is because of their increased productivity in their manufacturing. One of the reasons is this implementing mass production systems in the fast moving consumer goods. This method of production. And anyway, after Henry Ford's this, then there is a another important development is Henry Fayol's principles of management. So principles, like if you are if I am teaching this subject MSP to you, part of the credit goes to this guy, Henry Fayol. Anyway, Patrick F.W. Taylor is there, but if you consider F.W. Taylor as father of scientific management, you can say like he's the mother. But anyway, there are so many mothers for this subject, like Henry Fayol, and then Frank Gilbert is there, then Henry Gantt, see for scheduling and loading charts. So in fact, the concept of functions of management, it has come out of this Fayol's principles of management. And then anyway, like now you have people are using some contemporary management concepts like operations research, social psychology. They are applying the ergonomics in to enhance the effectiveness of a company through these incorporation of these latest of social psychology and operations research. So here, what I mean to say is that we will. These are the some of the things. So what we will do is tomorrow, before we discuss Henry Fayol's 14 principles, we will talk about the not tomorrow, maybe next Tuesday. We will start with the contributions of W. Taylor and Henry Fayol because they laid the foundation for our MSP subject. Okay, so. And if any quick questions are there, I can answer and then we can exit. I think regarding tomorrow's holiday, I was told like it is moved to Friday. I don't know. See, I'm not the. There is a bit of you can check with your CRs. Maybe they are better qualified than me to talk about these holidays. You can ask. There is a bit of uncertainty whether there is a holiday tomorrow or after tomorrow. Okay, you can check up with Dean Academic through yourself. Okay. Any other questions? If there are no questions, then we can. Yeah, definitely. Like I will share the PPT at the end of this chapter. Okay.